I got a review for you here on the channel today, and we're going to be reviewing the Sebastien Flute NEWTRON limbs and riser. And what I'm going to do is unbox them, show you them up close, let you know what I think of them, set them up, go outside, tune with them, and then shoot them at 70 meters and let you know how the bow actually performs. Now, full disclosure, just like I always do on the channel, Sebastien Flute did actually send me this riser and limb combo for the sake of a review on the channel. However, I only do that under one condition. When a company reaches out to me and says, hey, we want to send you some stuff to review, I let them know first that I will only be honest because I'm not sponsored and I'm proud of that. So I'm able to actually give in-depth, impartial reviews no matter what. However, if I do find something wrong with the gear, I will reach out to the company first, not release the video until they give me a response. Just in case, for whatever reason, maybe there's a manufacturer's defect, things do happen, or maybe I'm setting it up wrong and I'm making a mistake. And if that does happen, either way, I'm still going to let you know what they said, as well as what the fix is in case there was a problem. Now, with that out of the way, if you are interested in grabbing a Sebastien Flute NEWTRON riser or limbs, I will have links in the description below, and I'll put a card at the top up there to Lancaster Archery Supply where you can grab those. And I will also have all of the other pieces of equipment that I used, including the tools in today's video, down in the description below. And it genuinely helps this channel out if you click those links before you shop there. And I do have a handful of discount codes down in the description as well. So first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the limbs and take a look at those first. So inside the box, you've got your limbs inside of sleeves, which actually feel quite thick, which is nice. A manual, and within the manual it looks like it is more of a, oh, it's actually a manual. So it's got their entire lineup of all of their bows, plus in the back it tells you some basics on how to actually set up the bow and use it. And it looks like there's also a shirt here. I do not know if everybody gets these or if they're included in everything, so forgive me. They did send this to me for the sake of a review, so they may have given me this shirt as well. It is a double XL. It's probably Asian fit double XL, and I'm actually a single fit XL for Asian fit, but it's just a little bit too wide. But thank you to Sebastien Flute for sending me that jersey. Outside of that, the riser sleeves are really thick, which is nice. I'm going to pull the limbs out first, and we'll get a good look at these things here. So these are long 42s. The actual quality of the limb, the clear coat, and all of that, it looks pretty good to me. Super minor flaws here or there, and I'm going to show you everything that I do find on the actual limb as far as flaws are concerned. Just first look, everything looks pretty nice. As you can see here, everything's really glossy. Very, very minor amounts of orange peel. Give you as much of the glare as possible so you can see them. Limb tips, I haven't looked at them closely yet, but they look pretty nice. Back of the limbs, everything looks good. You can see the layup. They are foam cores. 2 foam cores that go around the wedge and then join together. Torsional rigidity is kind of like mid-level as far as that's concerned. Torsional stiffness, the resistance to twisting. I will test these on my test rig. I have a few different sets of limbs that I need to actually test as well. And the limb tips look nice. They're nice and even. Everything looks great. The hardware looks fine. No issues there. So the limbs look good. From what I understand, these are 3K carbon, unidirectional carbon, and foam core. So they are definitely a little bit more of a mid to mid plus limb, I believe. Before I go too much further, I really should look and see what these retail at. Ultimately, I just want to be fair to the review because I don't want to compare this stuff to a $2,000 setup, because the Sebastien Flute NEWTRON riser is $400 retail, and these limbs are also $400 retail. So they definitely are a mid to mid plus price point. So for the pair of them, it's $800, which is still less than half of what you could spend on the highest end gear that is available out there, or at least the most expensive gear that is available out there. So for 400 bucks, they are definitely getting up there as far as torsional rigidity and stiffness is concerned. And the finish is nice. I did say there was a couple of flaws here or there, but it's very minor and it's really not much. I'm just, being very nitpicky here. If you look really closely in the weave in certain areas, like through here where I'm pointing, you might see little dots here or there. What that is actually just, it looks like air bubbles down in the weave that the clear coat didn't necessarily flow into, and out by this area here, only when you're looking at high gloss areas where the light is hitting it. Yeah, so if I get this reflection here, you can see a few of those little marks there. They're called dirt nibs. It happens when the paint booth isn't completely clean and there's some dust here or there, but for 400 bucks, they're still great. I just wanted to show you something if there was any sort of flaw. I'll unbox the riser now, and very similar things. Looks like the same manual in the riser box, some desiccant, looks like some hardware. We've got 3 Allen wrenches, including a clicker plate extension in a bag. Happy to see the clicker plate is there. The riser sleeve feels about the same as the limbs. Oh, nice. Is this purple or blue? Purple. This is a great color. I always leave it up to the company when they're going to send me stuff, what color they send me, because some colors do end up showing up better on camera, and I just leave that up to the people who are sending it. And first look, the color is great. It's like a satin finish on it. It's like blasted and then anodized, which looks really nice. And it's a chunky riser. It looks really beefy in the pocket area. Yet there is a lot of cutouts for reduced weight. It's more of a unique design for sure, because the tiller bolt's coming through here where the holes are, and it's just, it's unique. Bushings look nice. Not seeing much to complain about. Very minor, if any, tool marks here or there. Very, very minor. It's only in spots where they can't buff it or shot peen it a little bit more heavily. For $400, I'd say it looks fairly solid. It looks like a good mid-plus riser, as I discussed. The shape of the movement in the pocket is slightly different than the other Sebastien Flute stuff that I've reviewed in the past. Where the limb pushes here, it's straight. On some of the other Sebastien Flutes, they are rounded and it puts a pinch point on the limbs. So that is gone, and I'm happy to see that. But otherwise, I don't really see much in the way of flaws at all on this riser. There's definitely some molding issues here or there on the grip. It's not the prettiest flashing on the grip there, or deflashing from the molding. You can see little artifacts and spots. Not a big deal. Around the bushing here, the polish isn't super perfect. Down inside of the holes where this kind of raised lip is, where they put the barebow weight, you can see some tooling marks here or there. Some tooling marks in this area where it'd be very hard to get buffed prior to anodizing. But otherwise, I don't see a single flaw in the bow. And pretty standard as far as the grip is concerned. It will feel comfortable for most people, but those that are interested in high-end performance will really desire a lot. So I'm hoping that I've got a grip that I can throw on this bow. That is a grip that's a custom one that I've made, and I'll show you that once I get there. But otherwise, everything looks pretty nice. So I'm going to quick check the limb fitment and see how these snap in and out. And they are very, very loose. So I'm definitely wishing these tolerances were a little bit tighter, and I'll show you here in a second. I like to take the limbs and put them in backwards and get an idea of how tight the fit is on the most critical connection point of the bow, the riser to the limbs, and that is at the base of the limbs. Put it in backwards against the tiller bolt, and then I tip the bow upright And if the limb falls out, that's showing me that the tolerances are not tight enough to keep the most important interface of the bow straight, solid, consistent. What this can do is it can affect your limb alignment and actually your impact point downrange, and I'll explain that here in a second. But my main concern is actually safety. When people are going to string this bow, especially if somebody's not using a stringer, and even if someone is using a stringer, I've seen this happen, where the limb will want to fly out of the bow because it's so easy to just pop right out. You know, it's very nice to have limbs that come apart easily, but when you go to slide your hand up, and I didn't even mean to actually do it that time, when you go to slide your hand up the limb to move the string into its proper groove, it'll pop out of the bow, especially if you're not holding the pocket and keeping the limb in place as you're stringing it. But if you don't, not holding there, it'll come out very, very easily. So very concerning there. Now, as far as the actual performance, when the limb is snapped in place, the limb is held in by force into the dovetail area, which is rounded where the dovetail gets received right here. And so it always self-centers. But the other end of the limb, where the fork is, if there's play left and right, like this, because of the tolerances there, it actually shifts the limb alignment, it shifts your center shot, and it shifts the impact points downrange. So if you string up your bow with some side load here versus side load here, you're going to hit different when you string it up. If you go to adjust your brace height in the middle of a tournament and you got this kind of play, good luck hitting left and right in the same place. It's very likely that it's going to be shifting. So there's two parts here. It could be the limb and it could be the bow as far as the actual interface of what is out of spec or not to tolerance. And so I've got a set of calipers here, and I will measure in inches because that's what I know the spec is. The ILF, International Limb Fit Standards, dictates the distance from here to here, the size and shape of the dovetail, and the size and the opening of the actual limb, plus the outside diameter of the actual tiller bolt. There's a spec out there. Generally speaking, it's 375 thousandths of an inch. And so with that in mind, 375 thousandths of an inch, let's measure the inside of the limb here where the tiller bolt would actually sit. And I'm getting 381 thousandths of an inch, 380. So it rebounded a little bit. It's at 380 right now. When I actually have force on it, it's 381 thousandths of an inch. So they're very, very oversized. The limbs are massively oversized. They should be somewhere in that 375 range. And this limb is actually much, much smaller, 375. So the bottom limb, the top limb, excuse me, is much smaller. So we'll see if the top limb fits, because the bottom is 380. Actually, it's much better, but the bolts, I think, are still undersized. So you'll see it kind of sticks in there a little bit longer. And it's a little better, but they still want to fall out, and I'll show you why. Personally, I've never actually seen... Yeah, 376. It's actually not straight. Down in the bottom, it's 370. In the middle, it's 374.5 thousandths, and at the end, it's 378, 379. Let's see what this one is. Down at the base, 360 in the middle, 379 at the top, 380. So they're both, yeah. Okay, so they're actually, and now that I'm looking up close, I can actually see what is causing this. And this is a machining error, most likely. I will reach out to Sebastien Flute and let them know what's going on, and I will post their reply down in the description below. So if you take a look at the limb, and I'll show you from different perspectives, you'll see that this side here is a straight cut. From the U, it goes straight up. This side, you'll see it's like a U, and then it kind of heads this way and then tapers that way. right? So the shape's not quite there. And if I turn the limb around, you can see it even more so. Where this side kind of, it's like this side, it comes down, it makes a U, and then this other side, so it's down, makes a U, and then it heads that way. So that's why the limbs are narrower at the bottom, bigger at the top, and they're offset, offside like that. Yeah, so for the price point, that shouldn't be happening. So in order for me to better show you what is going on, I'm going to pull these tiller bolts out of the bow. They are made out of aluminum, so they're very, very lightweight. And when I make sure my calipers are 0, so 373. So they're actually within spec. So it's not the tiller bolt's fault. Technically, even though it's a little bit small, it's actually the limb's fault as to why the limb wants to fall out of the bow. And I can display it to you here. Just easily put the tiller bolt in the limb and watch that it wants to fall out. Luckily, I have an answer for that in case you do already have this bow and you have maybe other Sebastien Flute risers or limbs, and you're looking to possibly get a little bit better fit there. Insert the Kaminsky Archery Precision Tiller Bolts. This is a black nitride version that is available in 2 different sizes, 375 and 380 thousandths of an inch. This one is the 380. It is oversized, and so what it's designed to do is to actually fit these oversized limbs much, much better. They are available on my website if you head to KaminskyArchery.com. I will have a link in the description below and a card at the top up there. And they are available in Europe. Right now we are currently selling and shipping the Win-N-Win / Sebastien Flute tiller bolts. They're the same ones when it goes in one of these style risers. As you can see, it threaded in just fine. And when you have the fitment properly done, when the tiller bolts are the correct size for the limbs, this is the bottom one, so this is the slightly bigger one, put it in place, it stays, but if I shake it a lot, it'll probably fall out, right? So these limbs, because they're over 380 thousandths, that one, the other one is a little bit smaller, and so as you see, it'll stay in place. So staying in place is showing me that there's no play left and right, because if they pivot around that ILF dovetail, because it's always self-centering, the limb bolt will allow play. That's why the limbs will shift left to right. So because this is a review, I'm actually going to take the precision tiller bolts out of the bow and put the stock ones back in, because I want to get an accurate representation of how the bow feels in its configuration that you can buy it. I just wanted to show you and highlight to you the importance of the limb to riser interface, and to be able to show you that we have a solution for that, just in case you already have one of these bows or you may be looking to upgrade it into the future. So now that I've taken a close-up look at the riser and limbs and giving you some initial feedback, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the limbs aligned, get my center shot set, get the basic preliminary setup done, including the tiller and brace height, and get all the accessories installed on the bow. And then what we'll do is we'll go outside, we'll tune at 30 meters, and hopefully if everything goes well, we'll get back to 70 meters and shoot a scoring round with this Sebastien Flute NEWTRON. Everything on this Sebastien Flute NEWTRON did align just fine. It's a slightly different alignment system to where it is pulling the adjusters from side to side instead of pushing them. So you just have to basically loosen the opposite side that you normally would. So normally, like if there's a gap over here, I would loosen this side and push the limb this direction. But on this bow, it's the opposite. If the gap's over here, you loosen this side and then pull it this direction. So that's how it actually works out and gets fixed. Everything aligned just fine. Brace height, tiller, everything like that, just fine. Really no issues at all. And I'm definitely a little bummed out I didn't have a grip ready to go for this bow. I really need to just call up RS at Arcor and get a custom grip built for this bow, because it'll put my hand in a much better position and it won't slide around. And you know, stock grips are always very lackluster, to put it nicely. For the most part, at least. There's a couple companies out there that make decent ones, but basically all stock grips are terrible, and I just really should have one for just about every bow here in case I need them. So I need to call up RS and let them know I need one. And I'm sure that will be a complaint. We'll find out. So I'm here at 30 meters. I have a camera down range, so you'll be able to see the impacts the whole time. And I'm gonna first get this thing tuned up with bare shafts. First shot, feels pretty good. It's a little loud. The post-shot reaction is very nice. I've got 450 X10s here, so I'm hoping these tune up. I feel my hand just sliding up on the grip into that pivot point. Needs a little brace height tweak or something. Sounds a little funny. Post-shot vibration is excellent. Definitely a limb that feels a bit more like its price point. So it's not the super best post-shot reaction, but these are mid to mid plus level limbs, and so it feels similar to that kind of range. Wasn't the greatest shot. Bow made a slightly different sound, so it's definitely giving some feedback. I'll shoot a bare shaft. Okay, definitely weak. Gonna have to see if I can get these tiller bolts out far enough. Hopefully we'll be able to do so. I'm gonna go run inside and get a pair of pliers so I can adjust my sight in further because I'm out of room. But definitely there's something the clicker is making that high-pitched ping. If I take the clicker off. So that noise is the clicker. I'm gonna see if I can fix that and also maybe dial in the brace height a little bit. Right now I'm a little high. I'm just a little high of 22.5 centimeters, which is kind of normally where I like to run it, 22.5, 8 7/8, somewhere in that range. Actually, it's come down a little bit since I've set it up. Right now it's 22.5 exactly. First initial feel though is the limbs do feel good after the delivery of the arrow. Very crisp on the actual delivery, and then definitely a lot less residual vibration. There's very little low frequency humming, definitely a good amount of high frequency humming. So getting it tuned will probably get that to go away because the arrows are very weak. So I think there's a lot of excess energy left in the system. And actually, after pushing on this button, I realized that I have it set very, very weak. So that's why I'm hitting so far to the right. Plus, it'll help with the stiffness, bring it up a little bit, make it a little more stiff by increasing this button pressure. And I think it'll work better with a slightly stiffer plunger. This was adjusted for a much lighter bow previously in my previous review, so that's why it's set so loose. I was shooting much less draw weight. So I did put the button pressure up about 1.5 to 2 turns. May not be enough to move the group enough, and we'll find out if I need to get pliers. Actually, it moved it enough. It's weird. I'm oddly inconsistent through the clicker. I think it's the grip when I slide or not slide. So far, I haven't really liked the way the bow is jumping. It's not jumping very straight. Doesn't jump super hard, but sometimes it just feels like it pops right or left. I think it depends on the mistake I'm making as far as the power I'm putting into the bow or where I'm putting the pressure, but it just doesn't feel like it always wants to jump straight. Sounding a little better now that I adjusted the clicker though. That's better. More manageable now. I think I'm just going to touch the tiller bolts to back the draw weight down just a smidge, and that should be sufficient, because I think button pressure wise it feels pretty solid. I think it's a good starting point. The bow does sound much better, which I really like, but like I said, the bow just doesn't feel like it always wants to jump straight. It's very dependent on the direction I'm pushing pressure into the grip. I'm sure a lot of that is grip related. As far as the draw length is concerned, I do feel like I'm inconsistent there because of the placement of my hand in the grip. If I set it a little too low and it slides up and into the throat, then my draw length's a little longer. If I start with my hand properly all the way up into the throat and then down, it's more consistent. It's just the throat of the grip is so big on these stock grips. They're made for huge hands. This is really not going to fit well for people with small, medium-sized gloves, stuff like that. You really need a much smaller grip. And this would absolutely be the first thing that I upgrade on any bow, is ditching the stock grip and going to a grip from a reputable company such as Arcor. I do have links down in the description below to Arcor's website, plus a discount code. If you use code Kaminsky at checkout, you get 10% off all their stuff. I would highly recommend replacing the stock grip on this bow. It's just really not that good. If I'm noticing inconsistency in draw length, I'm really going to have a hard time with consistency as far as delivering the pressure into the bow correctly. So I'm assuming that's why it's jumping differently. Otherwise, the bow just doesn't jump super hard, not compared to some of the other setups that I have shot recently in the past. I'm going to take about just over a half a turn, maybe 3/4 of a turn out of the tiller bolts. Now the bow sounds nice. It's ridiculous. Trying to keep my hand in the same place, and some I way overdraw and some I way underdraw. All right, looks like it went in the group. I'm gonna go down and check and see. I think it still flew a little bit on the stiff side. The weak side, and it hit slightly to the right, I think, of the group. If so, I'll probably just back the bow weight down another 1/4 turn or so and get it perfectly dialed. So after looking at the bear shaft up close, I decided to take another 1/4 turn out of the tiller bolts. I was hitting about 2.5 to 3 inches weak. My bear shaft was hitting on the right side of the 10 ring. My flet shafts were kind of hanging on the left side of the 10 ring. Either way, the tune that you saw is more than capable to shoot well into the 340s. So it's definitely not going to be the limiting factor today. That's going to be my condition and how consistently I can put my hand in the grip today. So back here at 70 meters, I still have that camera down range, and I will shoot an end or two for practice, get sighted in and comfortable, and then I will shoot 6 ends of 6 for a total of 36 arrows, the standard scoring round here at 70 meters. with this Sebastien Flute NEWTRON. Definitely pretty low. Okay, so far what I'm feeling is very similar to what I felt at 30 meters. Just a little bit of inconsistency there in the draw length. And I'm definitely getting there. I just got to put my hand very consistently in the grip and approach it in the exact same way every time. But it's working out. I do need to maybe bump the clicker forward ever so slightly because it's at least being consistently a little bit on the long side. And I'm definitely going to need one more end to verify my sight marks before I start for score. And I'm going to go down and get them. Don't know why I went there. Felt pretty good. That one felt better, so I'm glad it went in the middle. Yeah, so definitely right before the shot broke on that one, the tension just started heading to the left, so I tried to correct it as soon as possible, but still hit there. Same thing there. Not as much, but still to the left. All right, so I'm definitely sighted in. I feel like when I shoot good shots, they're definitely going near the middle, maybe slightly high. That's why I moved my sight up a bit. So I'll give it another couple clicks. And I think it's more than sufficient as far as sighted in to go down and score this next end. So I'm going to shoot 6 ends after this. First end for score. Now if they could all go like that. Get left. That one was a little soft on the release. Didn't quite have it locked in. Power just headed to the left right before it went off. Bow is starting to make a little creaking sound. Every so often I can hear it when I pull back. Just before I come to anchor, I can hear a click or a creak. Sounds like it's coming out of the top limb. Okay, not the greatest shots there. Looks like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 52 to start. Definitely my fault on basically all of those. The one that went way to the left, it definitely was heading very far that direction. I really think the grip would fix a lot there. But yeah, that's end one. Go get him. That one felt real good. Bow is much more stable compared to my last review. Definitely not a bad feeling bow. Get up. A little fast on that one. All right, so from here, it looks like that low 10's out, so I'm gonna call it a 55 from here. Definitely I'm getting much better at putting my hand consistently in the grip. My draw length's getting consistent there as well. And overall, I'm getting more and more comfortable with the bow itself. The actual bow, when at full draw, feels very stable. It's not like wobbling all over the place. It's quite predictable, with the exception of the tension moving every so often. And number two, 55. I don't think it's a 56, but 55. So trending in the right direction. All right, so 56 on that one, not too bad. Overall, like I said, the bow is reacting really nicely. I really think, starting to think, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll find out. We're only halfway through scoring, thinking this is a great buy for the money spent. Yeah, little flyaway on that one. Two, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 51 on that end. So it's definitely apparent to me that when I do my job correctly, they do go in or very close to the middle. They're like 9.5 or better when I shoot good shots. When I know for a fact it's a real good shot, they're usually right there in the middle. But when I do make a little bit of mistake here or there, it's definitely a little more punishing than very, very high-end bows, but it's definitely not as punishing as a bow that I got that was $300 less than what this bow costs. So definitely is a step up from the entry to mid-level. Like I said, this I think is mid-plus, and feels good. Just not sure if it's the grip or if it's something else. Maybe a little bit of the setup. Not quite sure there, but I'm definitely not super connected or dialed with the bow, because it's not exactly impacting or landing where I think it will when I let it go. It's close, it's in the right direction, but how far out from center, not quite good there on the guess. All right, 5th end here for score. Get right. Just know it right when it goes off. It's going left. It's such a weird feeling. I can't quite describe it, because if I knew it was going to go that way when I would let it, before I let it go, as I was expanding, I would make sure it's centered. But it's like, okay, it feels good, and then all of a sudden, well, it's way left. I don't know, it's odd. All right, yeah. It was quick, but I've had plenty of quick ones that still hit the 10 that are like that, even with this bow so far this round. That one went exactly where I thought it should. Get there. Nope. That one felt okay. A little wobbly, but not that bad. It felt okay. I'm really thinking it's the grip, because I can feel like I'm trying to put it in the same place and I can't figure out where to put it because there's no crisp edge. I know I'm beating a dead horse here by saying it's the grip, but yeah, I'm very confident in the tune, very unconfident in the interface to the bow, the grip. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 47 out of 60 on that one. One more end to go. Last end here at 70 meters with this Sebastien Flute NEWTRON. See, I mean, that one was very quick, very similar to the quick low 6, I think, on the last end. I mean, I feel ready for him. It's like, I'm ready, click. So that's why I don't let him down. All right, so I shot a 52 to finish. That is a 313 out of 360 here at 70 meters. Definitely not the greatest that I've shot, and I've shot much higher score very, very recently, actually, with another bow. But I did shoot a very similar score not that long ago in the review previous to this one. The other one was much more frustrating. This one, it was just a lot of just missing, missing. You know, feeling like it's a decent shot and just not hitting 10s. I feel like a large portion of that is most likely the grip, because it's very apparent that when I put my hand in the bow, that I'm not making sure I'm really, really solidly set up in here, as far up and forward as I can get, and then setting the pressure down low and lifting. The reason being is if I don't do that and I lift, I can feel my hand kind of smush and slide up here a little bit. And with that edge being so rounded, there's no definitive place to put the hand, and with it being so open through here, it allows the hand to change vertically quite a bit. And I think that's what's changing my draw length, and I think that's also what's changing the impact point, because I'm very aware that if I feel my hand slide up, that means I didn't get my hand all the way up into the grip, right? And so when I put my hand all the way up into the grip, like maybe too far up, I end up putting more pressure up high, making those arrows go low. And sometimes they go a little bit extra quick that way because I found as I'm sliding up, the draw length is too short and I'm having a hard time getting the clicker to go off. So when I start up higher, it's definitely better for me and I can execute shots as desired. So there's definitely a lot to be desired in the grip. So that's already been said 1,000 times. Let's forget about the grip and talk about other things. The riser itself is finished very, very nicely. Like I said, there's a couple of issues here or there with machine marks. Not a big deal, but overall, let me take a look at the pocket, because on the other Sebastien flutes with the different alignment system, it was digging hard and really badly into the limbs. So looking at this, it's much, much better. The interface is much better and there's much less of a mark there, but you can still see those white dots there, kind of in this area here, where the limb adjustment system is kind of digging in. There is a sharp point there on the actual riser itself. And, overall, I don't see a huge issue there. The riser itself seems to be very nice in just about every regard. It looks really nice. The adjustment system works well. Everything's cool on it. And when I was trying to put the correct grip on the bow, or a grip that I like, what I noticed is there's nothing under the grip. There's no serial number anywhere on this bow. Maybe it's hidden underneath the limb adjustment system or something like that, but there's not a single marking anywhere on the riser that is signifying any sort of serial number, which is a little concerning to me because, say if a riser has an issue, how is Sebastien Flute and the people who make Sebastien Flute, how are they going to know what happened? There's going to be no track record to when that riser was made, who made it, what machine it's made on, any of those things, because there's no serial number anywhere on the bow. So they can't quality control and track issues if something ever were to come up. So, that's a bit concerning. Overall, like I said, the bow feels fine. I just wish it had a different grip. The color on it's sharp, and overall, I like the bow. For $400, it's a decent riser. I feel like the limbs are a better value for the $400 minus the fitment and the cut of the limb here at the base. So hopefully Sebastien Flute gave us a sufficient answer and reply so I could put it down in the description below as to figuring out what happened there, because other than that, everything else about this limb says absolutely 100% worth it. The feeling of the limb itself, the reaction, the post-shot reaction is excellent. Very minimal vibration. It's a little bit in the higher end of the frequency spectrum as far as what I do actually feel as far as vibration is concerned. But that's normal and very common with higher end limbs with more carbon in them. They typically tend to feel less floppy and more punchy with a little bit less vibration, but higher in the frequency spectrum. And that's what these felt like. Torsionally, as far as stability is concerned, they felt great when they were off the bow. And I've already tried them with them on the bow, and I do like them. The resistance to twisting is fairly high. It's not the highest that I've ever seen for sure by far, but it's definitely up there. The clear coat's really nice. It's hard. Alignment went okay with them. I didn't see any issues there. The limb tips look great. I mean, I don't really have much to complain about as far as the limbs. Like I said, I think that they feel like a better value compared to the riser if I were to compare the two, because they're both exactly at the same price point, minus that big flaw in the butt of the limb. Maybe they'll make some adjustments and that'll be better over time. I suspect it will. That's partly why companies send me materials and bows to review, because then they get feedback and they can make their products better. And I've seen it happen already, so I'm sure this will change dramatically as far as the production of the Sebastien Flute limbs and the tolerance of the butt of the limb. So overall, even though the score wasn't as good as what I would hope it to be, I still think the bow was somewhat predictable. When I made good shots, when I was very confident my hand was in the right position, they did go in or near the middle. I'm only saying near because I had a lot of 9.5s, not quite 10s. I just think a lot of that probably is within the grip, outside of something else within the riser, geometry or straightness that I just haven't checked yet. And I did verify because of those oversized limbs and undersized tiller bolts, I guess technically within spec, I can feel the limbs shifting a little bit as I push on the side of them like I've done in my tests before. I can feel the limb shifting left and right as I am moving it. Like if I put my hand over the pocket like this and I hold the bow against my sides like this and then I push and pull on the limb, I can feel the whole system going clunk, 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 and that play will 100% impact where the arrows go down range. So if you're doing stuff like I did where I lean it against a pole, lean it against my tripod, the limb could have some side load on it and shift it over to one direction. Or if I set it down on the ground as so, now it's not shifted. And so every end, in theory, the impacts could shift down range left and right. And the amount of play that this has, I could expect easily the group to shift well over 30 centimeters, well over 12 inches here at 70 meters. And so it's concerning, and I hope that Sebastien Flute adjusts that in the limb design to make sure that that's not happening. But if you have one of these bows and you're looking to fix that problem, grab some precision tiller bolts from jakekaminsky.com. And also, if you're interested in learning how I tune and set up my Olympic style recurves, I'll recommend a book called Tuning for Performance. Highly recommend it. It'll get you set up in the right direction and how to take your bow out of the box and be able to start shoot decent groups here at 70 meters. Hopefully a little bit better than this when you got a proper grip on your bow. And before I end the video, I just want to say a huge thanks to Sebastien Flute for sending me over this riser and limbs combo for the sake of a review. I really appreciate it, and hopefully viewers out there appreciate a little bit more of this budget and beginner-friendly type of price point. It's helping me too be able to be a better YouTube content producer, to be able to review equipment on a better level, to be able to convey to you what is and isn't worth it, what is a $500 versus an $800 versus a $2,000 bow feel like, and ultimately I'll be able to compare and contrast much better there and be able to give you better information. So if you're enjoying this kind of content, please do consider sharing it. Genuinely would help this channel out. Also subscribe, hit that notification bell down below. I'm working on producing lots more content. I've got more reviews stacked up, and also I have plenty of other content that I'm working on and I can't wait to release. And yeah, thanks for watching.